is Miss Jackie of the Atlee Library. We are so happy you decided to join us today for Pamunkey Regional Library System's Storytime at Home. Today, we would like to thank the authors Selena Yoon and Anna Egan Smucker and the publishers Walker Books for Young Readers and Albert Whitman and Company for allowing us to read our 2 stories today. Now let's get started with our opening song. The more we read together, the more we read together, the happier we'll be. 'Cause your friends are my friends, and my friends are your friends. The more we read together, the happier we'll be. Isn't that such a nice little song? I really do enjoy it. I hope you do too. Today, it's starting to get a little bit chilly and spooky. You know what that means? Pumpkin pies and apple pies. Oh, I love the fall fruits. Apples are so crisp and delicious, and pumpkins make a mean jack-o'-lantern. I hope you all enjoy the books we have today on pumpkins and apples. Why don't we start with our pumpkin books? Penguin and Pumpkin by Selena Yoon. I just love the way Selena Yoon does her little animals. I think they're really cute. And look at all the leaves for her introduction pages. It was fall and very white on the ice, as always, which made Penguin curious. I wonder what fall looks like off the ice. Let's go to the farm and find out. Penguin's baby brother, Pumpkin, waddled over. Can I come to see fall too? I'm sorry, Pumpkin, but it's too far for a fledgling. Poor Pumpkin. He can't join his sibling or the other penguins to go to the farm. Grandpa agreed. Maybe next year, Pumpkin. I'm not a baby. Penguin, Bootsy, and their friends headed to the farm. Goodbye, Pumpkin. I wonder what Pumpkin's going to do if he can't go to the farm. The journey was long as Penguin looked and looked and looked for signs of land. Finally, the penguins arrived. Look, that's not icy land, is it? It's all green and sandy. Not a drop of snow or ice anywhere, is there? The farm was full of pumpkins. Everyone reminded Penguin of his brother. You are the pumpkin of my dreams. Then Penguin looked up. Beautiful. He's liking the leaves, isn't he? This is perfect for Pumpkin. I like fall leaves too, don't you guys? The penguins each picked out a pumpkin. Some were smooth, some were long, some were bumpy, some were curved. Every pumpkin was loved. Sweet dear dreams, dear Pumpkin. Ooh. Penguin had a different idea. I wonder what Penguin's idea is. Do you guys have an idea what it is? I think I might, but we'll find out. They rode back home with their fall harvest. Are we there yet? Woo! Look, they're traveling in a pumpkin. Isn't that silly? The fall explorers were excited to share their treasures from the farm. Hey, Sleepy, you're awake. But where was Pumpkin? Where is Pumpkin? I know we couldn't go to the farm, but he should be there to see all the cool pumpkins they got, right? Penguin found the clue. What's this? What do you think he's following? Footsteps or seeds? Or, maybe we should flip it and find out. Pumpkin! What are you doing over here? Since you wouldn't let us come, we decided to have our own fall adventure. Cookie crumbs! That's what Penguin was following. We imagined fall on the harvest moon, fall on spooky Saturn, and even fall on the red planet. You have a spectacular imagination, said Penguin. The harvest moon. Spooky Saturn's a jack-o'-lantern. Isn't that silly? And the red planet is an apple. Mothership calls Pumpkin. Bye! Look at the seal friend disappearing off in his mothership. But I wish I got to see what fall really looks like, Pumpkin sighed. See fall, thought Penguin. What do you think Penguin's up to? Something fun for Pumpkin, you think? Wait, right here, Pumpkin. Penguin took the crate up on top of a cliff. Grandpa and Bootsy followed a trail of leaves that led them right to Pumpkin. There you are. I brought you something. Thank you. A pumpkin for Pumpkin, a perfect match. How sweet. Penguin finally returned. What does fall really look like? Asked Penguin eagerly. Look up, said Grandpa. Fall looks like. What do you think fall looks like? Snowing leaves. Wow! The end. The end. I'm so glad Pumpkin was able to find out what fall was really like. Even though he couldn't go to the farm, his brother was sure able to bring it to him. Well, that was real sweet. In fact, pumpkins are really cool. They grow from seeds into something super large, just like this pumpkin here. Perhaps this reminds me of a poem I once heard. Want to hear it? It goes like this. One day I found 2 pumpkin seeds. I planted one and pulled the weeds. It sprouted roots in big long vines. A pumpkin grew. I called it mine. The pumpkin was quite round and fat. I'm quite proud of that. But there is something I'll admit that has worried me just a bit. I ate the other seed, you see. Now will it grow inside of me? I'm so relieved since I have found that pumpkins only grow in the ground. Isn't that such a fun little poem? I really like that. But I also like something red and small and delicious. Apples. They're the other fall fruit. In fact, you can start picking these now. Perhaps you're able to go up to the mountains and pick them, or maybe you have your own apple tree, or maybe you just go to the store. Whatever the case may be, apples are a fun little treat. In fact, I have another rhyme, another little poem about apples this time. Apples, apples, 1, 2, 3. Apples for you, apples for me. Apples big and apples small. Apple trees tiny and apple trees tall. Apples sour and apples sweet. Apples, apples are nice to eat. I love apples. I hope you guys do too. In fact, I have a really interesting story for you. Golden Delicious, a Cinderella apple story. I wonder if it's like the original Cinderella fairy tale with golden slippers. Or perhaps it's not. Shall we read it and find out? Golden Delicious. Golden Delicious, a Cinderella Apple Story by Anna Egan Smucker. Published by Albert Whitman and Company. It was apple season in the fall of 1905, and the Stark Brothers nursery in Louisiana, Missouri was flooded with apples. They were sent by farmers who hoped they had grown the world's best new apple. One of the Stark brothers would want to sell to all their customers. I feel like the prince who tried a glass slipper on one smelly foot after another to find Cinderella, Paul Stark said to his brother Lloyd. Paul had just tasted another disappointing apple that sure had looked like royalty. But all those disappointments didn't stop the Stark brothers from dreaming about finding the perfect apple, one that could be crowned queen of the apple world and bring them fame and fortune. Meanwhile, miles and miles away in the hills of West Virginia, Anderson Mullins was inspecting his new farm. It had been a hot summer, and everything was as dry as dust. He hadn't reckoned on coming face to face with a miracle. Holy cow! He explained. There in the midst of his dried-up apple orchard was a glorious green-leaved tree, its branches loaded with shining golden apples. He snapped one off and took a bite. Never had he tasted an apple so sweet, so juicy, so gosh darn delicious. For the next 8 years, during wet season and dry season, Anderson Mullins' tree produced bushels and bushels of those golden apples. Every time he entered them in the Clay County Fair, they won blue ribbons. Each year his tree produced fruits when other trees didn't. Come springtime, when the other apples that had been in his fruit cellar all winter were wrinkly and dried out, his golden apples were still fresh and sweet. He was sure they were like no other apples in the whole wide world. So, in the spring of 1914, Anderson Mullins searched his fruit cellar for the 3 most perfect golden apples he could find and sent them to the Stark brothers' nursery. He knew the Starks were always on the lookout for new and better kinds of fruit, but he was hoping for some extra dollars in his pocket. By and by the apples arrived, Mullins' yellow seedling samples, Paul Stark read, blowing sawdust off the card. Don't waste your time on them, his brother Lloyd muttered. Yellow apples don't sell. Tough skin, bland taste, and they don't keep well. But Paul had just bitten into a slice. Lloyd! Lloyd! He yelled, and he shoved a piece in his brother's mouth. Taste this! Juicy, said Lloyd. Crisp and spicy, said Paul, even though it's at least 6 months old. This can't be a yellow apple, Lloyd exclaimed. It's not, said Paul, his smile bigger than a giant slice of watermelon. It's not a yellow apple, it's a golden apple. This just might be our Cinderella, shouted Lloyd. Paul Stark found it hard to wait till the next apple harvest season. When fall finally came, he traveled hundreds of miles to see that golden apple tree. First by train, then by horseback. Over winding mountain roads, he reached Odyssia, West Virginia. The sun poured down hot as apple butter just out of the kettle. His white shirt stuck to him tighter than the skin of a grape, but he didn't care. At last, on a dusty country road along Porter's Creek near Odyssia, Paul saw a mailbox that said, A
J.H. Mullins. He knew his journey was almost at an end. No one answered when he knocked on the door, so he set out to find Mullins' orchard and its extraordinary tree. Paul wasn't used to hills as steep as those in Clay County, West Virginia. Sweating and gasping for breath, he climbed and climbed. At first he found only some scraggly old trees, but then he saw it, a tree with rich green leaves, its branches bent to the ground with the weight of a great crop of gorgeous, glowing, golden apples. Paul couldn't help himself. It was as if his hand reached out by itself and plucked one. He was biting into it when a farmer came striding down the hill towards him. "My name's Paul Stark," Paul told the farmer. "That's some apple." "Name's Mullen," said the farmer. "I sent you some." "I know," Paul said, "and I'd like to buy that tree from you." So the two men put their heads together and agreed on a price. Paul Stark hired workmen to build a cage to protect the tree from animals and thieves. He even ordered a wire strung from the locked cage to a battery-powered burglar alarm in Anderson Mullins' kitchen. Paul Stark left Mullins' farm. He took a bundle of twigs from the golden apple tree with him. In early spring, those twigs were grafted onto some of the Stark brothers' apple trees, cut into the stems and wrapped so tight so the two would grow together. Paul and Lloyd watched over them as if those grafted trees were hens getting ready to lay golden eggs. Those young trees grew quickly. It wasn't long before beautiful golden apples filled their branches. And what did Paul and Lloyd Stark name their apples? That was easy. Golden Delicious. In 1919, Golden Delicious won a medal for the world's best new apple. You might say it was crowned Queen of the apple world. The end. Now this is a fun book because it's based on a true story. So if you're interested in learning more about Golden Delicious, do seek out this book so you can come to the back page and read all about the true history of the Golden Delicious apple.
So here's an image of our fun little craft you guys can do at home with your parents' permission. What you do is you gather natural items like apples, leaves, twigs, a paintbrush, and some paint, and you can make your own stamps. No need for a stamp or an ink pad. Parents, if you're interested in doing this, I recommend you be the ones handling the knife. If you would like, you can cut your apple in a variety of ways, but I recommend doing it horizontally. That's where you get this cool kind of star shape that when you press it into the paper makes some fun shapes. Now, once you have your apple stamp cut, you're going to want to take and spread paint on it. This one's partially done. This one has no paint on it, as you can see. And you just can put a little dollop on and you spread it out. You want it to have a nice layer because the more paint you have on it, the more that's going to be deposited onto the piece of paper you're painting on. So try and hit all the places you can. I'm going to try and get that stem there too so I can have a stem imprint. So you then line up how you want. Press down hard. I recommend doing 5 seconds. You guys want to count with me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you pop it off. And sometimes it'll turn out like that where you didn't hold down hard enough or you didn't have enough on. So you can just fix it by putting a little more paint on your apple. And try not to drop the paintbrush. And just paint a little more on. Make sure it's nice and covered. I guess I didn't have enough on when I did mine the first time. And you can just line it back up. And press down again. Let's do 10 seconds this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then, whoop. Yeah, looks like we're having a hard time getting off. Parents, the straighter the cut, the more that's going to hit the paper. But it's still fun, a cute little apple stamp that you can do with your family or by yourself. Anyway, I hope you had fun learning how to make your own natural apple stamps. Wasn't that such a fun craft? Unfortunately, our time together has come to an end. So, let's end with our closing song. We wave our hands like this. We wave our hands like this. We clap our hands for all our friends. We wave goodbye like this.